The 1998 Massey Ferguson 8160, belonging to Adley Cordis, threw a connecting rod through the side of its block at 2:48 p.m. Thursday, August 7th, 2025, in the South 80 of his 880-acre farmstead outside Buckley, Illinois. The tractor had been pulling a 24-foot vertical tillage tool through fall corn ground at 1,750 revolutions per minute in fifth gear. The engine, a Perkins 1006-6 T 6.0-liter inline 6, had run 14,200 hours since Adley bought the tractor used for $42,000 at an Onarga auction in 2008. Adley had run her 1,000 hours a year for 17 years on his ground without a single major service. The rod let go with a sound he heard before he heard it. He shut the throttle, killed the ignition, and coasted the 8160 to the headland in second gear with the engine seized. Adley called his Massey dealer in Watseka, Massey Ferguson, Watseka Equipment, at 3:14 p.m. He spoke to Holland Groce, the parts manager. Holland was 53, soft middle, full sandy brown beard, Navy AGCO, Massey Ferguson Polo. Holland had been at the parts counter for 16 years. If this kind of story matters to you, the kind where the numbers tell the truth and the work speaks for itself, we'd be honored if you subscribed. Mr. Cordes, the 8160's a 1998 model. Perkins 1006-6T. The factory replacement is no longer in production from AGCO directly, but we can source a new old stock Perkins long block out of a UK warehouse for $48,000. $48,000. Plus shipping at $1,800, plus our removal and install labor at $14,000. That's 80 hours at $175 an hour. $63,800 all in. $63,800 all in on a tractor worth $34,000 in good running condition. That's the only factory route, Mr. Cordes. Everything else voids the AGCO chassis warranty. My chassis warranty expired in 2003, Holland. It's a matter of record keeping. Holland, you're quoting me $63,800 on a tractor worth $34,000. That's the only factory option. There are other options. There are no Massey-authorized other options. Then I'll find an unauthorized one, Adley said. Earl told Ruth at the kitchen table that night about Adley's call. Ruth poured the second cup of coffee. $63,800 on a tractor worth $34,000, Ruth said. That's the quote. Holland Groce knows the math doesn't work. Holland Groce was hoping Adley wouldn't do the math himself, Earl said. What did you tell him? Ruth asked. I told him to drive over to Virgil's shop. What's Virgil going to recommend? I don't know yet, Ruth, Earl said, but it won't be a $48,000 long block from a UK warehouse. If you're still here, subscribe. We don't rush these stories because the people in them didn't rush the work. Adley called Earl Braddock at the Braddock Kitchen line at 4:02 p.m. Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Earl picked up. Ruth was at the table with her ledger. Earl Braddock? This is Earl. Adley Cordes. I farm 880 acres outside Buckley. We've met at the Iroquois County Farm Bureau a few times. I know who you are, Adley. My 1998 Massey 816? Oh, threw a rod this afternoon. Holland Groce at Massey Watseka quoted me $63,800 to replace the engine. I'd like to ask Virgil Kemp's opinion on alternatives. Virgil's at his shop until 6. Drive over. On my way. Adley arrived at Virgil's two-bay shop on Route 9 at 5:18 p.m. Virgil was 71, lean, silver flat-top, oil-stained hands, gray Dickies work shirt with chain-stitched chest text. Earl drove over from the Braddock farmstead and joined them at 5:32 p.m. The three men sat on the workbench in the shop while Virgil sketched on a piece of cardboard. Adley, the Perkins 1006-6T, was a fine engine for 1998, Virgil said. It is not a fine engine to source new in 2025. Holland's not lying about the $48,000 long block. That's the going rate from the UK warehouse. He's exaggerating the labor at 80 hours, but not by much. The factory route really is $60,000 plus. What's the unauthorized route? Engine swap to a different power plant, Virgil said. Cummins QSB 6.7 would be one option. Caterpillar C7 would be another. But the cleanest mechanical fit in the 8160's engine bay, and the engine I'd choose for the next 15 years of work on your farm, is a John Deere PowerTech 9.0-liter from a wrecked S780 combine. A John Deere engine in a Massey body. A John Deere engine in a Massey body. What would that cost? Adley asked. Used PowerTech 9.0-liter with under 4,000 hours from a wrecked S780, typically $16,000 to $19,000. 000 depending on hours and condition. Custom adapter brackets and engine mounts to fit the 8160 chassis. Dexter Briant in Mahomet does this work. $4,200 in fabrication. Drive shaft and PTO modifications, $1,800. Hydraulic pump adaptation, $1,400. Wiring harness and ECU integration, $1,800. Labor for the install, 60 hours at $135 an hour, $8,100. All in, $30,000 to $33,000 against Holland's $63,800. $30,000 to $33,000, Adley said. Plus the swap will give you a tractor with 15 to 20 more years of life on it instead of one with another 17,000 hours of Perkins service costs ahead. The PowerTech runs cleaner, burns less fuel, and Stern Equipment in Champaign supports it through their parts counter. Holland Groce will refuse to ever service the modified tractor, Earl said. He will. Adley, are you ready to be done with Holland? I've been ready to be done with Holland for 2 years. Then call Dexter Briant in the morning. I'll call Dexter at 7 a.m. What if Holland refuses to sell me parts for the chassis going forward? Adley asked. Stern Equipment in Champaign will sell you whatever the chassis needs, Earl said. Owen Stern carries Massey chassis parts as a courtesy for Alice and Massey owners running PowerTech transplants. He's done it before. He has. 3 times, Earl said. 2 Alice chassis with PowerTechs and 1 case IH chassis with a Cummins. All 3 running. That's a small club, Adley said. It's a club worth being in. Owen Stern. Owen Stern. He'll set you up after the conversion is done. Adley called Dexter Briant at 7:04 a.m. Friday, August 8th, 2025. Dexter was 56, broad-shouldered, full gray-flecked brown beard, dark gray Carhartt vest, Navy Ford F350 dually with Briant Engine Works, decals on the doors. Dexter ran his engine sourcing business out of a converted hog confinement barn outside Mahomet. He had been doing this work for 22 years. Adley quarters from Buckley. Virgil Kemp sent me. Virgil's a good man. What do you need? PowerTech 9.0 liters for a 1998 Massey 8160 transplant. Under 4,000 hours preferred. I have a PowerTech 9.0 liter from a 2018 S780 combine with 2,140 hours that came in 3 weeks ago. The combine took a barn fire loss in a Wisconsin claim. The engine is clean. The ECU is intact. The wiring harness is salvageable. I'd sell her to you for $18,500 plus shipping at $480 from Mahomet to Onarga. $18,980 delivered. $18,980 delivered. And you'd warranty her for what? 500 hours of operation or 12 months from delivery, whichever comes first. Standard Briant Engine Works warranty. Done. When can you ship? Tuesday. The engine is on a stand and ready to load. Tuesday. Dexter Briant's flatbed delivery truck pulled into Virgil Kemp's two-bay shop at 11:14 a.m. Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. The PowerTech 9.0 liter sat on a heavy-duty engine stand under a clean blue tarp. Virgil and Adley unloaded the engine with the shop hoist while Earl directed the maneuver from the floor. The PowerTech weighed 1,840 pounds dry. The engine was clean. The injectors were intact. The factory paint was unmarked. "That's a good-looking engine, Virgil," Earl said. "That is a good-looking engine." "How long for the conversion?" 6 weeks if Dexter's bracket fabrication arrives on schedule. 7 if it slips. I'd planned for the tractor to be back on Adley's ground by the 3rd week of September. That's 2 weeks before harvest. Cutting it close. Cutting it close, but doable. The conversion at Virgil's shop ran from August 13th through September 19th, 2025. 5 weeks and 4 days. Dexter Briant fabricated the custom adapter brackets and engine mounts in his Mahomet shop and delivered them to Virgil on August 28th. Virgil pulled the seized Perkins from the 816O's chassis on August 14th, cleaned the engine bay, mounted the new PowerTech with Dexter's brackets on September 2nd, plumbed the cooling system on September 5th, ran the new wiring harness with the ECU integration on September 9th, modified the PTO shaft and drive shaft on September 12th, and pressure tested the hydraulic adaptation on September 15th. The PowerTech fired off the 3rd crank at 4:38 p.m. Friday, September 19th, 2025, in Virgil's shop. Holland Groce drove past Virgil's shop on a Saturday afternoon in early September while the conversion was in progress. He saw the green PowerTech engine sitting in the open bay of Virgil's shop with the red Massey 8160 chassis beside it. He pulled into the gravel drive, climbed out of his red Massey Watseka F250, walked to the open bay door, and stood with his hands on his hips. "Virgil, Adley, Earl, Holland, what in God's creation are you doing to that 8160? "Putting a PowerTech 9.0 liter in her, Holland," Virgil said. "You are voiding every warranty Massey Ferguson ever wrote on that chassis." "My chassis warranty expired in 2003, Holland." "You are also voiding any future Massey Watseka service relationship. We will not service this tractor when you are done. We will not stock parts for it. We will not warranty any work on the chassis adjacent to this engine." "Holland, when this tractor is done, I won't be a Massey Watseka customer anyway," Adley said. Mr. Cordes, Holland, you quoted me $63,800 on a tractor worth $34,000. You knew you were quoting me $63,800 on a tractor worth $34,000. You're not losing a customer today. You lost the customer the second you made that quote. Holland Groce spread his hands wide with a smug, taunting smirk and a small, dismissive laugh. When this Frankenstein tractor of yours blows up in your field next October, Mr. Cordes, don't call Watseka. Call Virgil here. That's the plan, Holland. Holland climbed back into his red Watseka F250 and drove off down Route 9. The conversion at Virgil's shop continued. Virgil set down his torque wrench and watched the F250 pull out of the gravel drive. "He's going to call Dexter," Virgil said. "He's going to call Dexter," Earl said, "and try to get Dexter to refuse to sell to PowerTech transplant projects going forward." "Yes. Dexter won't. Dexter won't," Earl said. "Why not?" Adley asked. "Because Dexter's been buying wrecked engines and selling them to whoever wanted them for 22 years, Virgil said. "He's not going to stop because Holland Groce calls him on a Saturday afternoon." The first start of the modified 8160 with a PowerTech 9.0 liter happened in Virgil's shop at 4:38 p.m. Friday, September 19th, 2025. With Adley in the cab and Virgil watching from the floor. The starter cranked twice. The 9.0-liter diesel fired into a steady idle. The exhaust note was different, deeper, smoother, cleaner than the Perkins had been. The temperature gauge climbed to operating range in 11 minutes. The hydraulic pump engaged on the first lever pull. The PTO clutch engaged at 540 RPM, clean. "She runs," Adley said from the cab. "She runs," Virgil said. "Earl?" "She runs better than the Perkins ever ran, Adley." "That's what I thought, too." The first field test of the modified 8160 happened on Adley South 80. The following Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Adley hooked the tractor to a 24-foot vertical tillage tool and ran 14 acres in 1 hour 48 minutes. The PowerTech burned 11.2 gallons of diesel, 0.80 gallons per acre, versus the old Perkins, which had burned 1.18 gallons per acre on the same field 2 seasons earlier. Fuel savings, 32%. Ground speed, 6.2 miles per hour, versus the Perkins's 5.4 miles per hour. Engine temperature stable at 198 degrees throughout the run. 0 black smoke at full load. 0 coolant loss. 0 hydraulic creep on the headland turns. "It's a different tractor, Earl," Adley said by phone that evening. "Same chassis." "Same chassis. Different heart." "That's a fair description. I want to thank you and Virgil for the recommendation. Thank Dexter Briant for the engine. Thank Virgil for the brackets. Thank yourself for having the spine to ignore Holland Groce. I'll thank all of them." Wayland Osborne lived on the 720 acres adjoining Adley's east fence line. Wayland was 64, lean, weathered, full white mustache, faded green John Deere cap, dark green Carhartt jacket, dark Wrangler jeans, brown work boots. Wayland was already a Stern Equipment customer for his J.D. fleet. He had a 1986 Alice Chalmers 8050 in his back barn that had thrown a piston in 2016 and had sat dead for 9 years. Wayland watched Adley's PowerTech conversion happen across August and September and drove over to Adley's farmstead the Tuesday after the first field test. Adley, Wayland. That 8160 of yours runs better than my JD8R250. That's overstating it. Maybe a little, but the PowerTech in a Massey chassis. That's an idea I've been thinking on for the Alice. Talk to Virgil, Adley said, and to Dexter Briant in Mahomet. Same approach should work on the 8050. The Alice chassis is heavier than the 8160, but the PowerTech bolts up clean to almost any pre-2000 tractor with the right brackets. 8 years of dead Alice sitting in the back barn, Wayland said. Maybe she runs again next year. Maybe she does. Earl, Wayland said, I'd like to ask you something. Ask. Did you put Adley up to this conversion? I drove him to Virgil, Earl said. Virgil suggested it. Dexter sourced it. Adley paid for it. The recommendation belongs to Virgil. The decision belongs to Adley. And the encouragement? Wayland asked. The encouragement was the math, Wayland. $30,840 versus $63,800. The math encourages itself. Math encourages itself, Wayland said. I like that. Borrow the math whenever you need it, Earl said. Adley ran the modified 8160 through the entire 2025 fall harvest, pulling a Brent grain cart on his 880 acres. The tractor put 168 hours on the new PowerTech engine in 7 weeks. 0 downtime, 0 unscheduled service. Total fuel consumed 1,344 gallons versus the projected 1,978 gallons the old Perkins would have burned over the same hours. Net fuel savings for the season, 634 gallons at $3.18 a gallon, $2,016 saved on fuel alone in one season, plus 0 subscription fees, 0 dealer service relationship, 0 leverage from Holland Groce. The total conversion cost, engine, brackets, labor, modifications, came to $30,840 versus Holland Groce's $63,800 quote. Net savings on the engine replacement, $32,960, plus the fuel savings projected over the next 17 years of operation, roughly $34,272. Total economic value of choosing the PowerTech over the Perkins replacement, roughly $67,232 over the projected lifetime of the tractor. Dale Voss came by the Braddock farmstead the second Saturday in October 2025 in his white GMC Yukon. He was 61, ruddy face, wire rim glasses, clean polo and khakis. He leaned on the open driver's door. Earl, heard about the Cordes Frankenstein tractor. You heard. A John Deere engine in a Massey body. That's an abomination, Earl. That tractor will break Adley's heart in 3 seasons. That tractor saved Adley $32,960 on the engine replacement alone, Dale. Until it breaks. It might break, Dale. The Perkins broke at 14,200 hours. The PowerTech might break at 14,200 hours, too. The difference is what Adley paid to put a working engine in his tractor, $30,840 instead of $63,800. The price of admission to the next 15 years. You don't put a Deere engine in a Massey, Earl. Dale grinned with a wide, smug, mocking smirk and a small, dismissive laugh, shaking his head as if Earl had endorsed something deeply wrong. Dale, you don't have to like it. Adley likes it. Virgil likes it. The fuel meter likes it. You're not on the math here. I'm on the principle. Principle don't pay for diesel, Earl said. Dale climbed back into his Yukon and drove off without another word. He did not bring up the Cordes conversion at the November Farm Bureau meeting. Owen Stern at Stern Equipment in Champaign called Earl on a Tuesday morning in early November 2025. Owen had heard about the Cordes conversion from a parts counter conversation with Wayland Osborne the previous week. Earl, Owen, tell me about Adley Cordes' tractor. PowerTech 9.0 liters from a wrecked S780 combined in a 1998 Massey 8160 chassis, done at Virgil Kemp's shop. Dexter Briant did the brackets. Total $30,840, running clean for 168 hours so far. Earl, I want to send Adley a Stern Equipment account opening packet. He's running a JD engine. He's going to need PowerTech parts for the next 15 years. I'd like him at my parts counter, not at Holland Groce's. Adley would welcome the call, Owen. I'll call him this afternoon. By Christmas 2025, Adley Cordes was a Stern Equipment account holder for all PowerTech parts and service. Owen Stern delivered the first part shipment, a fresh oil filter, an air filter, and a fuel filter for the next service interval, to Adley's farmstead in 36 hours from order. The bill was $214. Holland Groce had quoted Adley $480 on the same 3 filters from the Massey Watseka counter the previous October. Wayland Osborne started his own Alice Chalmers 8,050 PowerTech conversion at Virgil's shop in February 2026. Dexter Briant sourced a 7.5-liter PowerTech from a wrecked 7R 230 in March. Wayland's modified 8,050 was running by April 14, 2026, in time for spring planting. Total cost, $27,400. Wayland's tractor had been dead for 9 years before the PowerTech transplant. By June 2026, it had run 92 hours of field work. 3 more central Illinois farmers, 2 with Massey chassis, 1 with an old Case IH 7110, drove out to Virgil's shop in 2026 asking about PowerTech transplants. 2 of the 3 jobs were completed by the end of 2026. The third was scheduled for spring 2027. The Watseka Massey dealer, Holland Groce, continued to refuse service on Adley's modified 8160. By December 2026, Holland had also refused service on 3 other modified tractors that had passed through Virgil's shop. Massey Watseka Equipment's Q for 2026 parts, and service revenue was down 28% against Q for 2024. Holland Groce was reassigned to a regional analyst role at AGCO's St. Louis headquarters in February 2027. Pierce Halter took over the Watseka manager role and called Adley personally in March 2027 to apologize. Adley thanked him politely and said no. The 1998 Massey Ferguson 816-0 with the John Deere PowerTech 9.0-liter heart sits in the equipment row of Adley Cordes farmstead outside Buckley, Illinois. The hour meter on the chassis reads 14,560. The hour meter on the engine reads 2,520. Total fuel consumed in the 380 hours of operation since the conversion, 2,964 gallons, against a projected Perkins consumption of 4,388 gallons over the same hours. Net fuel savings, 1,424 gallons. Net dollar savings on fuel, $4,528.14. The Perkins 100 6-6T that came out of the 8160 sits in the corner of Virgil's shop on a wooden pallet, the broken connecting rod still protruding through the side of the block. Virgil keeps it as a reminder of what 14,200 hours of clean farming work look like at the end of an honest engine's life. He shows it to every customer who asks about an engine swap. The Perkins did its job. The PowerTech is doing its. Adley called Earl on a clear evening in late November 2025, the night Adley finished his 2025 fall harvest. "Earl," "Adley, harvest done." "How many hours on the PowerTech?" Earl asked. 168 in 7 weeks, Adley said. "Zero downtime." Zero. Holland Groce drove past the field 3 times in October and once in early November. He came back, Adley said. He never stopped. He never said hello. He just drove past slow with that Watseka F250 and looked at the modified 8160 working. "What did he see?" Earl asked. "He saw a tractor that wouldn't quit," Adley said. "That's what you wanted him to see." "That's what I wanted him to see." "Good night, Adley," Earl said. "Good night, Earl," Adley said. Wayland Osborne called Earl from his shop the day the Alice 8050 fired off the third crank in April 2026. "Earl, she runs," Wayland said. "After 9 years?" "After 9 years. PowerTech 7.5 liter sounds like a different machine than the old Alice ever did." "That's because she is," Earl said. "Same chassis. Different heart." "Different heart," Wayland said. "I owe Adley Cordes a beer." "You owe Adley a beer? He's at the Buckley Tap on Tuesdays." "Then I'll be at the Buckley Tap on Tuesday," Wayland said.